Minister, thank you very much for coming into the House today. This session on public order and safe streets has been a long time coming. As usual, it takes a viral tweet to get the government to address something, but let's not pretend that the abysmal state of public order on our streets of many locations in Greater Dublin is a recent development. There has been a steady decline in the standard of public order over the past few years, largely linked to specific locations in and around the capital. And Minister, the people of these communities and the people who are exposed to and suffer this behaviour are sick to the teeth of it. No one should have to live in fear in their own neighbourhood, having to stay in past dark, making sure they're not walking alone, having to change routes because they see a gang on the streets further down. This is shocking stuff to have in Ireland in the current year. There are a number of ways to tackle this. As always, prevention is the best medicine. Some people will point to these areas as socially disadvantaged and subject to historic disinvestment. But funneling exchequer funding into the estates doesn't necessarily change a problematic subculture. If the government is serious about solving this issue, its policies must acknowledge the existence of particular generational subcultures and patterns of behaviour in these areas. Shying away from this recognition for fear of being accused of not being politically correct will result in an inability to tackle the problem in any lasting manner. I would urge each and every person in communities affected by gangs and criminal violence to do their part, wherever that may be. The government has a responsibility to act, but even with double the Gardaí we have now, there will never be as many boots on the ground as there will be if citizens don't do their part. That will look different for everyone, but I think it starts with children. Parents of children must ensure their child is not engaging in antisocial or violent behaviour, and other adults in the community have a role to play in correcting behaviour when they see and must be encouraged and supported in this. Communities need to come together and decide what they want to be, and they need to take their streets back. What that looks like will vary. I know of some housing estates who set up nighttime civilian beats to stop specific crime waves in their area. It shouldn't have to be this way in this first world country, but it is. Make of that what you will. Councils need to look at the physical layouts of their areas, install community lighting and ensure that common or green spaces are not inadvertently contributing to the formation of large gangs or persons engaged in antisocial behaviour. At the end of the day, so much of this should be done by An Garda Síochána. And I'm sure that the Gardaí who we do have out on the beat in these areas are doing wonderful work in keeping our communities safe and secure, and they're keeping the peace. But there are simply not enough of them. This year, the force hired 94 new recruits, down 75% on last year when we had 385. The 2022 target was 800. One might look at these figures and think, well, obviously no one wants to be a guard anymore. Not true. Over 11,000 people applied since the last competition was opened in April of last year. Since then, just over 20 recruits have entered the college. The disparity between these figures points to the existence of serious flaws in the Garda recruitment system. Again, this must be examined as a matter of urgency if the Minister for Justice and the Garda Commissioner are to have any chance of tackling the issues we're discussing here today. COVID restrictions have bore most of the blame, but there are also reports of a significant number of applicants failing to pass the fitness test involved. I'm sorry, but does it make sense to anyone? We have 11,000 people who want to be guards, we need 800 of them, and we have 94, and we're turning away people because they can't do enough push-ups. Now, I don't want weak or unfit guards either, but for the love of God, can we not maybe train them? I'm not certain of the entry process, but one would think that the intensive boot camp would be enough to get many of these potential recruits over the line when it comes to the fitness test. Is this something that exists? If not, why not? I know that the Minister secured funding for 1,000 additional recruits in Budget 2023. What plans are you and Minister McEntee or Minister Heather Humphreys putting in place to see that there will be enough men and women recruited to spend that money on? The Garda Representative Association, which has 11,500 frontline members, has repeatedly said there are simply not enough Gardaí to provide a proper policing service. Is it any wonder that we're seeing the scenes online that we are? Gangs of youth roaming the street, either on BMXs or joyriding cars, laying upon women and working immigrants. A fine advertisement for our capital city internationally. One aspect of this debate that hasn't been touched on is self-defence. And if you're attacked on the streets, you're in a self-defence situation until some bystander steps in to even the odds or call the guards, or then the Gardaí have to travel there. You suffer a lot of harm in 5 or 10 minutes, fatal harm. Does the Minister have any plans to strengthen the laws allowing people to defend themselves in the streets as well as their home when you're being attacked? It's really of little consequences where your surroundings happen to be. Should women walking alone at night be allowed to carry pepper spray or defend against would-be attackers or rapists? Our current government says no. What about an extendable baton? No, also illegal. And of course, don't you dare reach for that kitchen knife as the thug who broke into your home bears down on you. No, you're supposed to call the police and wait patiently for 2 or 3 hours while 1 or 2 of these new 94 recruits drive over to you, during which time your attacker can do whatever damage they can to you. It's all symptomatic of the nanny state approach to successive Irish governments. The common folk can't be trusted to do the right thing, so we have to do it for them. Whether it's COVID, climate change or the use of force in defence, the state is in its wisdom must control and mandate, leaving little room for the individual to decide for themselves. There is a growing desire in this country for the Minister for Justice to get tough on crime. Real violent crime, rather than someone saying words online that might hurt somebody's feelings. We all know by now that the old playground adage about sticks and stones is untrue. Words can and do hurt, but Minister, sticks and stones are still out there and they're being used on innocent people in this country. You could poll the country now and ask them, would you feel safer knowing that a pair of guards were walking the beat around your neighbourhood or sitting on Twitter 8 hours a day and knocking on the doors of people who are mean on the internet? I believe the answer would be quite clear-cut. So if it's safer streets we want, the path to them is more Gardaí, and pay them right. Pay them more. More hands-on community prevention and allow the individual to defend themselves. I look forward to seeing these plans actioned. Thank you.